Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Hopefully, I'm gonna provide a situation update. Thank you for joining me. God bless each and every one of you. Let's just jump right in, folks. There's plenty of things to talk about. Hunter Biden prosecutor says he would need to seek special status to bring charges in most jurisdictions. The prosecutor who brought charges against Joe Biden's son said on June 30 that he does not have the authority to bring charges outside of one state. U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, David Weiss, acknowledged that his charging authority is geographically limited to my home district. Weiss, a Trump appointee, had claimed that he was granted ultimate authority over this matter, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges. Whistleblowers who are part of the probe into Hunter Biden, though, testified that during a meeting with Weiss he said that he was not the deciding person on whether charges were filed and that he tried bringing charges in both Washington and California but was blocked. An email corroborates their account that prompted Republicans to question whether Weiss was not being truthful when he told him in June he had ultimate authority. Weiss responded on Friday telling House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan that he stood by his claim after acknowledging his authority is limited. He said that if you wanted to bring a case elsewhere, he would need to ask the U.S. Attorney's Office in that locale to partner the case. The office could reject the request. If it does, quote, I am a request special attorney status from the Attorney General. Weiss said that law enables the Department of Justice to commission prosecutors as special attorneys. That is different from the status of special counsel. Quote, I have been assured that if necessary after the above process, I would be granted 515 authority in the District of Columbia, the Central District of California, or any other district or charges would be brought in this matter. Weiss said he did not, however, say who assured him or when. One of the IRS whistleblowers said in an email last year that Weiss said he went to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Washington and was told by the Biden-appointed attorney that no charges will be brought in the district, was then requested special counsel authority and was denied by the Department of Justice headquarters. Weiss also said he sent the case to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of California and that the decision was pending. That decision was ultimately a rejection. The whistleblower said Biden moves to slash Medicare payments for home health agencies. Joe Biden's administration moved to slash Medicare payments for home health agencies on Friday, a move opposed by both Republicans and Democrats. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services proposed a rule that would reduce Medicare payments by 2.2% or $375 million in 2024. The proposed cut means that home health agencies would have to take a 5.1% decrease of $870 million based on the assumption that the agencies altered their billing and coding activity to maximize reimbursements in 2020 and 2021. The Partnership for Quality Home Healthcare said that the cuts would exceed $18 billion over the next 10 years, and comes at a time when the industry faces rising costs and lack of skilled nurses and patients. Home health agencies provide services for patients in the care and convenience of the client's home, especially for America's seniors. CMS has made these cuts assuming it had made a $2.1 billion overpayment. However, the partnership said that CMS is using a flawed methodology to assess past overpayments. William Dubby, president of the National Association for Home Care and Hospice, said in a statement, quote, we now turn to Congress to correct what CMS has done and prevent the impending harm to the millions of highly vulnerable home health patients that depend, and will depend on the future on, this essential Medicare benefit. He noted that Senators Debbie Stabenow and Susan Collins proposed legislation that would prevent these Medicare rate cuts for home health agencies. Biden has meanwhile moved to cut Medicare Advantage, an increasingly popular option for American seniors. Biden has proposed these cuts to Medicare Advantage while he has frequently accused Republicans of wanting to slash Social Security and Medicare. Chief Justice Roberts scolds liberal justices for a demonizing conservative majority. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts issued a warning on Friday against dissenting opinions from liberal justices who demonize the High Court when they disagree with its final decisions. Here scalding came as the Supreme Court delivered a blow to the Biden administration's student debt forgiveness plan, which would have wiped out over $400 billion in student loan debt, ruling that it was not permitted under federal law. Roberts warned that it is, quote, important that the public not be misled about the decision in the light of how liberal justices opposed it. Quote, it has become a disturbing feature of some recent opinions to criticize the decisions, with which they disagree, as going beyond the proper role of the judiciary. He said that the majority came to his decision by adhering to court precedent old and new that requires that Congress speak clearly before a department secretary can unilaterally alter large sections of the American economy. Quote, "We have employed the traditional tools of judicial decision-making, and doing so reasonable minds may disagree with our analysis." In fact, at least 3 Do Roberts wrote referencing Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Tangi Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan, who wrote the dissenting opinion. Robert said, quote, "We do not mistake this plainly heartfelt disagreement for disparagement." He added, quote, "It is important that the public not be misled either. Any such misperception would be harmful to this institution, and to our country." Roberts wrote that after Kagan argued in her dissent that the majority exceeded, quote, "the permissible boundaries of the judicial role in its decision." Roberts' comments come as Democrats on Capitol Hill have repeatedly questioned the court's legitimacy, given its healthy conservative majority. China using American PR firms to spread communist propaganda. A case study on Beijing's media influence efforts in the United States since 2019, published by Freedom House, highlights a contract between the Chinese embassy and Brown Lloyd James BLJ, in which the embassy paid the firm $144,000 in 2020 to help diplomats with crafting, editing and placing op-eds, as well as maintaining the embassy's social media accounts. During those 6 months, the then ambassador had articles published by The Washington Post, The New York Times, Bloomberg and possibly other outlets since the contract ended. The successors have been much less prolific, but filings dating back to 2011 show that BLJ also contracted with the China US Exchange Foundation, a proxy entity that is widely viewed as part of the CCP's United Front work. The PR firm was paid $20,000 a month to arrange trips to China for journalism students to enlist former U.S. government officials. And writing, quote, "positive opinion articles on China for national media outlets to analyze for leading United States high school textbooks for the portrayal of Tibet and China, and to develop recommendations for countering the tide of public discourse on Tibet." In other words, the regime in Beijing was not just paying PR firms to get its propaganda published as op-eds in major newspapers. It brings in American journalists to China for training to ensure the Chinese Communist Party's perspective is represented in U.S. media coverage and American school textbooks. China's extensive use of big-name PR firms adds another dimension to the propaganda threat because such consultants have strong connections with news networks and publications, and they are very good at getting stories placed with big media outlets. In the example cited in the study, $144,000 is a small price to pay for getting articles from the Chinese ambassador, placed in almost every major left-wing newspaper. United States consider sending bigger bombs to Ukraine as counter-offensive stalls. U.S. officials are growing closer to sending cluster bombs to Ukrainian defense forces to be used against Russians. Cluster bombs are explosive munitions that also deploy smaller explosives after being fired. Officials are reportedly closer to approving the transfer of the munitions now than they have been at any other point during the war. The move toward providing Ukraine with more advanced weapons comes as a nation's counter-offensive into Russia has stalled. Republican lawmakers have come out in support of supplying Ukraine with the bombs. Representative Michael McCall of Texas has stated that the munitions would be effective at destroying the fortified Russian positions that had been proving troublesome for Ukraine. Congressional Democrats fall on the other side of the issue. In a letter, more than a dozen Senate Democrats have called on Joe Biden to block any transfer of cluster munitions to Ukraine. The Democrats argued that the potential humanitarian costs of using such bombs outweigh the strategic usability they provide. 65% of Americans support shipping arms to Ukraine. Per a recent Reuters poll, up from the 46% recorded in a poll conducted in May. The same poll found that Americans are also more likely to support a political candidate who is in favor of sending military aid to Ukraine. If received, Ukraine would likely be able to rapidly deploy the munitions. The United States has sent Ukraine high-mobility artillery rocket systems and 155mm howitzers, which can be used to launch the cluster bombs. Lina Khan to testify for first time before the Judiciary Committee. Federal Trade Commission Chair Lina Khan is set to testify to the House Judiciary Committee on July 13. The first time the controversial business regulator has faced questions from Republican Jim Jordan's powerful Oversight Committee. Her voluntary appearance before the committee hearing comes after she was subpoenaed in April for documents related to her agency's inquiries into Twitter owner Elon Musk's actions since buying the platform, a topic that is likely to be central to the hearing discussion. The Weaponization Subcommittee released a report in March summarizing over a dozen letters that obtained that were sent to Musk in the 3 months after he bought Twitter in October 2022. Musk's tumultuous start at Twitter led to the resignation of a company's top privacy, cybersecurity and compliance officers, raising concerns that Twitter will not abide by the settlement agreement. These high-profile exits prompted a rare warning from the agency spokesperson, quote, "We are tracking recent developments at Twitter with deep concern," adding that, quote, "No CEO or company is above the law and companies must follow our consent decrees." The subcommittee's reports allege that under Khan's leadership, the FTC has been attempting to harass Twitter and pry into the company's decisions on matters outside of the FTC, as mandates suggesting the FTC's ongoing enforcement of the settlement is partisan. The FTC has refuted those claims. Quote, "FTC investigations are straightforward and non-political. The consent order the FTC has with Twitter is not about Musk's acquisition of the company or their consent moderation policies. This is not about free speech. It's about the FTC doing its job to protect Americans' privacy. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode.